Welcome back to the Tuesday Weekend, the podcast for people who gave up their hand modeling careers when they decided to work in a restaurant. They're bad.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good.
There is a particular bad habit that some diners have, and that is camping. Camping here means sitting for a long time after the check has been paid. 15, 20 minutes, longer. If you want to camp, I have recommendations for trails and campgrounds throughout the country. Don't do it in my bar or in my dining room. Sure, there are some restaurants where you are basically paying to have that table for the evening, and that's fine. But please understand that there is not a brunch place on the planet that wouldn't rather you get up so they can turn that table. In fact, years ago when I was managing a busy brunch place on Central Park South in Manhattan, I joked with the servers about adding a $50 per half-hour camping fee button to the computer, though really you are probably costing the restaurant more than that. And I do want to make one distinction here. If you order another round of drinks, you are no longer camping and you are welcome to stay and continue purchasing. If you order another round of refills, you are the worst kind of camper, still running the server after the next party already should have been seated at that table. All right, so now I'm going to throw the ball in the air here. Nick, camping.
Boy, did you talk to the wrong person about this. All right, camping first off, it does depend on the venue. For example, right now I work in a hotel. I have people sitting at my bar like last night. I'm like, hey, it's last call. I'm done. And they're like, fine. I'm like, but there I'm like, you guys can hang out all night, do whatever you want to. They're just going to go upstairs to their room, and I'm not going to kick them off the bar because I'm done and I'm cleaning. I mean, I've left and said, hey, you guys have a good night. They're like, thanks. And that's that. It's great. Restaurants and bars, on the other hand, okay, bars, there's a finite time. In bars, you can camp until they're closed. And when they're closed, you're out and you don't get a choice. You are out.
Yeah.
Restaurants is where the camping just sucks. I've got several stories about it. The ones that really get me are usually on faux holiday nights where your restaurant closes at, say, 10, and then they get there at 9. They make a reservation at 10 because fuck them. And then they decide they want to sit till midnight because it's New Year's, and they're, like you said, refilling Cokes and stuff. And it's like, dude, we're closed. I'm leaving. Have a good time. I have been in a restaurant that's been a very busy restaurant where, and this is, I know I go back to Utah a little bit, but it's where I'm from. And people in Utah are not as socially adept as other people in other states. Mm-hmm. They don't think, hey, we finished dinner, let's go to a bar, or hey, let's go to a coffee shop, because technically most of the people in that state don't drink alcohol or don't drink caffeine, at least in front of their friends. So they sit and sit. I was working in a very nice restaurant in Salt Lake. We'd won best restaurant of the year. I'd actually won best wine pairing menu of the year. I'd won best cocktail of the year there. And at one point I had a table on a Saturday night where I'm like, folks, I need you to get up. We're on a 3-hour wait. And being in the typical fashion, like, oh no, we're fine. And I'm like, okay, great. Please lift your drinks up. And they looked at me curiously, and me and a busser picked the table up and moved it to other chairs so we could seat the table. So they were sitting in 4 chairs with their drinks in their hand, like,
perfect.
Now, they had paid 45 minutes before. It wasn't like it was a 5-minute thing. I'm like, guys, we really need this table. You can see all the people waiting. And they were obstinate that they were just going to stay there and talk as long as they wanted. The other thing with camping is there's some small portion of our population that thinks that closing the place down is the coolest thing to do.
Right.
These people generally are at the same restaurant at the same time and then start having a competition as to who can stay the longest. And it's just, hey, we're closed. Leave. Oh, I'm like, no, leave. We're closed. They don't like that. It's not proper etiquette when you're serving a table and stuff, but you just get to the point where it's like, dude, I understand you have zero life and this is the highlight of your month. Please just go home. We've been closed for 2 hours. The cooks are leaving. I had a place at the Oyster Bar when I literally had the floor guy put all the chairs up and turn the lights on around an entire table. They didn't even realize the entire restaurant was empty. And they'd been drinking water and like staring at ice, hoping that it would evaporate into more water because I'd stopped serving them water 20 minutes before.
There is no greater sign than a chair being flipped up on a table that you have overstayed your welcome, and it is time to get up and leave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's camping is for me. And your joke about the button, I was always like, well, it's like a national park. They should pay me $25. They've obviously already started building their campfire thing. They put the stones around the fire. They're about ready to start it. They're putting their tent up. Go the fuck home.
Really, from where I am right here, I'm actually planning to hike up to Sunrise Pass in the Pinecone Mountains. It's only about 7 miles away from my apartment, and I'll walk. And it's gorgeous. I recommend everyone, let's go up there. We'll have some s'mores. If you want to camp, let's do it. Trae, how does camping affect the ice cream world?
It's not as bad in the same way. We do get the campers quite often for the same reason. Like, I'm going to shut this place down. And it is the people that have probably been kicked out of Nick's bar, who have been, well, where else can I go? I need to sober up, who will come over and be like, I know, fat and sugar.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, I'm working with high school and college kids. They have class tomorrow. I want them to go home as quickly as possible. Otherwise, they're not going to think maybe I don't need this job. And these people will come in and they'll order their $5.19 with tax scoop of ice cream and stick around for an hour in the corner. And one of the things that my company does pride itself on is its customer service. And so there are things that we are not allowed to do with a customer in the building. And so we have to actually work with the little, like, turning on the lights all the way up, turning the music way, 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 way up so they can't hear themselves talk, and then just shutting it off. We are supposed to be playing music at all times to kind of create the ambiance, but I will be doing other little things. And if I notice we've got some campers and the door has been shut and it's, 20 minutes after, and we're a lot quicker than a restaurant. Like, if you're still sitting with an empty cup of ice cream 20 minutes later, that stuff's going sour, yo. Don't, ew, go home. But so I'll be walking past the music box and just turn it up to the point where my scoopers have to yell at each other to get things done. And I'm like, guys, trust me. Because then the song ends, and midway through the next song, I will just stop the music. 9 times out of 10, it works. They're like, oh, are you closing? And I was like, yes, we've been closed for 40 minutes. Because I'm not allowed to say anything.
I actually played Where Is My Mind by the Pixies on repeat in a fine dining restaurant that loud.
Very nice.
And then stopped it, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, please leave. We closed an hour and a half ago. Please leave. Oh, why'd the music stop? I'm like, because it turns off at a certain point and we can't play it anymore because we've been closed for so long. Go home.
It's on the timer. Timer went off.
And Josh alluded to this too. And we haven't, the end of the night is one thing, but middle of dinner service, you've got people staying for an extra half hour, 45 minutes. It's not $50. It's more like $300 to $500.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to get back to one point. Camping when it's busy means you can't turn the table, which costs both the house and every tipped employee working, but most especially your server. And camping after close is just rude. People want to go home.
Yeah, that's the big one, in my opinion. They're both.
We've worked a long day.
Terrible.
We want to go home.
You're not paying for the table. You've paid for your food. You've eaten the food. Now it's time. Other people might, oh my goodness, want to eat food.
And it's like I said, most of the places I've worked at, especially when I've worked, if you're sitting at a table and your meal's done, the only thing in front of you is your water glass or whatever remnants of your cocktail. And that's it. There's no napkins. There's no utensils. There's no half basket of bread. It's all gone. You're staring at a blank table.
Everything has been pre-bussed.
Yeah.
You have an empty table ahead of you.
You're looking at a blank table, and it's been made painfully obvious that you've even paid. And you're just like, oh, this is cool. I like this in here.
Also,
I don't get
subset of campers that I really want to just call out, the people that complain about a 45-minute wait and then camp also.
Yes.
Like, you want to know why it was a 45-minute wait? People like you.
Yep.
I've had hostesses tell them, they're like, well, your table, as soon as people leave, we'll have a table for you, but they're not leaving. They're like, you can look around the restaurant.
Yeah.
Opposite of that, I've also
had that table right there. It's that you could see their check has been paid. It's that table right there. If we all want to cast them dirty looks, I will stand here with you and do that.
See the guy shaking 2 ice cubes in his glass like he's going to get more water, and like the server's just blissfully walking by going like, nope, you're done. Get out. You need to leave. We still have 2 more hours of service and you're hanging out.
And really, and maybe this will be my parting thought on this topic, but keep in mind that even though you are sitting there and yes, you are paying for the food, the table is not yours. The table is your server's. So if you occupy it, especially a larger party that takes up most of a server's section, please make sure you are compensating your server for their time, because they can't make any more money on that table until you move.
Yeah.
No, and a lot of times those large tables that stay are those tables that they dined on appetizers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they all want separate checks. You're just like, okay, fine. It's like, it's an 8 top. They only spent like $300, which to those of you listening out there, I'm going to go out tonight on my anniversary and probably spend $200, $300 on my own meal tonight. Easy.
Muzzle tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Born and raised, fantastic steakhouse. And you, like you said, they're the ones like, why are we waiting so long? It's like, because of you, people like you. You just sit, you take up a table. There's nothing left. Service is over. It's frustrating as a server too, because you want to make your money and stuff. And I mean, I'm sure we'll cover this later, where table times have gone up 45 minutes to an hour and a half from what they used to be, just because of these phone things.
Yeah.
You lose a turn in 4 tables, you lose probably $200 to $400. And when people out there listening go like, that's a lot of money, it's like, yeah, it is, but it's a lot of work. But you just lost that because you're sitting there discussing how you scored 4 touchdowns for Polk High School back in 1969 and got that last one over Spare Tire Henderson.
Yeah.
Go to a bar, go to your living room, go anywhere.
Phones on tables, that is a good topic we will talk about. More broadly, at some point, we will touch on the concept of the third place, the place where people congregate that is not home or work, because in some ways it is kind of missing in our modern society, and some people make up for it and are regulars at restaurants or bars, and that then kind of becomes that place for them. But that's really a broader societal topic that we can easily get back to at some point.
My management staff at the hotel every Thursday goes down to a certain place for their happy hour. Mm-hmm. Every Thursday. The entire management staff, all 25 of them, they all sales team, they all go down there for that, and go down, vent, no work rules there. And I know the place, I know the people who work there. I'm really good friends with them, so I get to hear a lot of stuff. But it's they make the manager there make sure that they all go out and have a meeting place after work to kind of still do that. And like, you're right, happy hours used to be people getting off work, coming in, grabbing a beer. It's just people looking for cheap drinks.
Yeah.
I can
get half off my drink if I get there before 6. I'm in.
You just don't see that huge workforce coming in anymore after work, just to like, oh, that was a bad day. I'll have a martini, I'll have a beer, then I'm going to go home. It doesn't happen anymore.
All right. We're going to take another break here, but absolutely leave us some comments about camping. Do you do it and you have a justification that you just need us to understand? Let us know. All right. We will be back.